Fly me to the moon. Let me play up there with those stars. Let me see what life is like on Jupiter and Mars. In other words, hold my hand. In other words, baby, kiss me. Fill my heart with song. Let me sing forevermore. You are all I long for, all I worship and do adore. In other words, please be true. In other words, I'm in love with you. Song. Let me sing forevermore. You are all I long for, all I worship and do adore. In other words, please be true. In other words, I love 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, you.
In Napoli, where love is king, when boy meets girl, here's what they say.
When the moon hits your eye like a big pizza pie, that's amore. When the world seems to shine like you've had too much wine, that's amore. Bells will ring, ting-a-ling-a-ling, ting-a-ling-a-ling, and you'll sing Vita Bella.
Ladies and gentlemen, please make your way to your seats. Our show will begin in 10 minutes.
When the stars make you drool, just like a pasta fazool, that's amore. When you dance down the street with a cloud at your feet, you're in love. When you walk in a dream, but you know you're not dreaming, signore. Scusa me, but you see, back in old Napoli, that's amore.
When the moon hits your eye like a big pizza pie, that's amore.
That's amore.
When the world seems to shine like you've had too much wine, that's amore.
That's amore.
Bells will ring,
Ding-a-ling-a-ling,
ting-a-ling-a-ling,
and you'll sing Vita Bella.
Vita Bella, Vita Bella. Hearts will play,
Tippy-tippy-tay, tippy-tippy-tay,
like a gay tarantella.
Lucky fella. When the stars make you drool just like pasta fazool, that's amore.
That's amore.
When you dance down the street with the cloud at your feet, you're in love. When you walk in a dream, but you know you're not dreaming, signore. I just see back in old Napoli. That's amore.
Amore, that's
Amore.
CBS Television presents a special report on Sputnik 1, the Soviet space satellite. Douglas Edwards reporting.
Until 2 days ago, that sound had never been heard on this earth. Suddenly, it has become as much a part of 20th century life as the whir of your vacuum cleaner. It's a report from man's farthest frontier, the radio signal transmitted by the Soviet Sputnik, the first man-made satellite as it passed over New York earlier today.
Tonight, Freedom 7, the story of the first American in space. And here is NBC News correspondent Frank McGee.
The United States space program, bruised and battered in competition with the Soviet Union, took a significant and highly gratifying step forward today. With the eyes of the world watching, the United States, on its first try, sent a man into space and recovered him safely. This day for astronaut Alan Shepard began at 5 minutes past 1 Eastern Daylight Time this morning when he was awakened in his special quarters at Cape Canaveral. After breakfast, a physical examination, and being fitted into his pressure suit, Shepard rode to the launching pad, took an elevator to the top of the 83-foot missile, and entered the capsule. A number of delays caused primarily by weather, and during one of which a defective inverter was replaced, held up the launching and kept Shepard in the capsule for 4 hours and 16 minutes before the liftoff finally came. But finally, the crucial moment in the countdown neared. You will even hear Shepard's voice at the moment of liftoff.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Ignition. Liftoff.
Roger, liftoff and the clock has started.
That was Shepard.
You're on your way.
And that's what Shepard had in mind when he said later, "Boy, what a ride." 15 minutes after liftoff, Shepard landed in the Atlantic, and the recovery phase of Project Freedom 7 began. Film camera crews were aboard the principal vessels involved in the astronauts' recovery from the Atlantic, but unfortunately, they encountered camera difficulties, and their film of the parachute descent into the water and the helicopter recovery is unusable.
Inside the 11th deck White Room, astronaut Glenn steps in and is patted on the arm by a couple of the workmen on the 11th deck who are dressed in their white smocks and white cap. And now Glenn walks up the few steps.
For the first live report from the Cape, let's go immediately to NBC's Roy Neal at Cape Canaveral, Florida.
I am just listening to the voice of Colonel John Powers in Mercury Control, who has just advised us that as of this moment, we can report to you live and direct from this vantage point at Cape Canaveral. That's pad 14. Mercury Atlas 6 is ready for launch.
And now it's 35 seconds. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3.
President Kitson, Mr. Vice President, Governor, scientists, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. No man can fully grasp how far and how fast we have come. Surely the opening vistas of space promise high costs and hardships, as well as high reward. So it is not surprising that some would have us stay where we are a little longer, to rest, to wait. But this city of Houston, this state of Texas, this country of the United States was not built by those who waited and rested and wished to look behind them. This country was conquered by those who move forward, and so will space. For the eyes of the world now look into space, to the moon and to the planets beyond. And we have vowed that we shall not see it governed by a hostile flag of conquest, but by a banner of freedom and peace. But why, some say, the moon? Why choose this as our goal? And they may well ask, why climb the highest mountain? Why, 35 years ago, fly the Atlantic? Why does Rice play Texas? We choose to go to the moon. We choose to go to the moon. We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard. Because that goal will serve to organize and measure the best of our energies and skills. Because that challenge is one that we're willing to accept, one we are unwilling to postpone, and one we intend to win, and the others too. To be sure, we are behind, and will be behind for some time in manned flight. But we do not intend to stay behind, and in this decade we shall make up and move ahead.
20 seconds and counting.
Many years ago, the great British explorer George Mallory, who was to die on Mount Everest, was asked why did he want to climb it. He said, because it is there. Well, space is there, and we're going to climb it. And the moon and the planets are there. And new hopes for knowledge and peace are there. And therefore, as we set sail, we ask God's blessing on the most hazardous and dangerous and greatest adventure on which man has ever embarked. Thank you.
12, 11, 10, 9, ignition sequence start. 6,